All right, what's up, everybody? How y'all doing? Let me introduce myself again. My name is Fitz, and I'm an acupuncture physician. This is the first of many videos that I would like to do, just explaining acupuncture, just explaining traditional Chinese medicine and everything that falls underneath it. That's acupuncture, that's tuina, that's herbs, moxibustion, infrared light, diet recommendations, and lifestyle recommendations. Okay, so for this video, I want to focus on some Chinese herbs. All right, as acupuncturists, most of the time we use Chinese herbs and formulas to help our patient gets better. And it could be for any variety of issues. It could be for edema, menstrual issues, headache, and so on. All right. And as acupuncturists, we had to learn a lot of herbs, a lot of saying Chinese formulas. So I'm gonna try my best to. I can't name all of them tonight, obviously, but I'm gonna name some herbs today and just tell you how to how we categorize the herbs and actual how we categorize the Chinese herbs and also the Chinese formula. All right. So let's begin. If you have any questions, you can leave it below. I'll try my best to answer them. But let me just get this first herb out of the way. Okay. So this first herb right now that you're gonna see on the screen is called Sishi. Okay. So Sishi is a Chinese herb, right? Now, the main purpose of this herb is what we call to calm the spirit. What does it mean to calm the spirit? So in Chinese medicine, when your spirit isn't calm or is disturbed, it can cause restlessness, anxiety. It can cause insomnia. All right. So in addition to doing acupuncture treatment, I may say prescribe certain Chinese formula that probably contains Shishi as one of the herbs. Okay. So again, this herb is Shishi is used to calm the spirit. Let me just write it down. Calms the spirit. All right. It just all it means is that it's good for restlessness and everything like that. All right. So for instance, so um if you're talking about the pharmaceutical version of it, it's called like a magnetidum. Okay. So this herb affects the liver channel and the kidney channel, the liver meridian and the kidney meridian. All right. The taste is like spicy and salty type of taste. All right. Now, herbs comes in temperatures. Everything comes in temperatures, but herbs come in temperatures. So, for instance, this is a cold herb. So, if a patient has a cold, is internally cold, I would not prescribe this herb because this herb is going to make that patient more cooler. Okay, internally that is. So it's a cold herb, right? The functions: it subdues the yang and calms the spirit. All right. What does it mean when it says to subdue the yang? All right. When it comes to Chinese medicine, I'm sure you heard of the yin and yang theory. All right. So, basically, in essence, yang is considered more heat, and yin is considered more cool. All right. And sometimes when the yang rises, that patient is going to feel a lot more heat, might feel headaches, might feel red eyes, and that may cause restlessness in the spirit. All right. That's why because this herb is perfect, because this herb is naturally cold. So if the person is feeling internal heat or yang rising, you want to subdue that yang. So you want to go ahead and basically prescribe a cold type herb that's going to be help to calm the yang, to calm the shin. All right. So you get it, right? So this is a theme you're going to see a lot when it comes to Chinese herbs and medicine. I'm gonna mention temperature all the time. If the patient is cold, too hot, if the herb is cold or hot or just neutral, right? So this cold, so this herb subdues the yang and calms the spirit, right? It benefits hearing and brightness of the eyes, right? Again, this herb also can help, with the hearing and also, it benefits the eyes, all right? Aids in kidneys grasping the qi and stops wheezing. All right. in Chinese medicine, we view asthma differently from the Western medicine, or and the lung and the kidney has a connection when it comes to what we call grasping the chi. I'm gonna go into that later on other videos when I just talk about the foundations of Chinese medicine. But for now, we just know that this herb also, it aids in kidney, in, it aids in the kidneys, grasping the chi. All right. Now indications. So it's good for restlessness, like I said, palpitations. All right, because internal heat can cause palpitations. All right. Insomnia because of the disturbed shin and the mind is restless. It can cause insomnia in some patients. Tremors. All right. Tremors is definitely more of an extreme case. All right. Dizziness and vertigo. So it treats that because if you have a lot of internal heat, that can lead to dizziness because it dries up the fluids, right? And dizziness, vertigo, what I'm saying, we call it interior wind, right? It's also good for impaired hearing and deafness. Good for tinnitus. Tinnitus is ringing of the ears. It could be high pitch or low pitch. So the herb is definitely good for that. And visual disturbances. All right. So this is a very, 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 very powerful herb, y'all. All right. And it's also good for chronic asthma. Now, is it going to cure asthma? No. We don't like to, in Chinese medicine, we don't, in medicine in general, we don't like to use the word cure. All right. But it can help with people with chronic asthma. Okay. There are some contraindications, just one mainly, okay, for Sishi the herb. Okay. So the contraindication for this herb is that if you have weakness in the spleen or stomach, so as acupuncturist, I have to do a diagnosis. I gotta see. That's why it's very important to get the right diagnosis as an acupuncture physician because if a patient appears to have a weak spleen or stomach channel, so therefore this herb is not good for prescribing. Right now, the dosage again. By the way, I want to make this clear. This is clearly for educational purposes only. I'm not gonna mention the doses to doses is about 15 to 30 grams. Now, usually we prescribe herbs that comes in a formula. Sometimes we do individual herbs for patients, but mostly it's in a formula form. All right. So blah blah blah. Cautions also is there's another herb called Mudan P. Okay, Mudan P. This is the antagonist for that herb. So basically that means that we don't want to prescribe Sishi and Mudan P together. All right. And you can do a whole bunch of combinations with this herb. And I'm not gonna get through that right now. Okay. So if you're talking about the Western medicines of it, this is also good for antifungal. Yes, this herb is also good for antifungal. All right. Also, here's a little note. This is used in Chinese clinic for treating cataracts. Can also treat anemia and high iron oxide. So just in case you know, this herb is used in Chinese clinics to treat cataracts, which is pretty cool, right? Which is pretty cool. And also good, good to treat anemia also. All right. Um, and I mentioned before the herb. This is an anti-agonist for Mudan P. So Mudan P and She should not be used together, okay? Because they're gonna cancel each other out. All right. So this is the first herb I talk about, Sishi. Okay. Um, so again, this herb is good with anxiety, with restlessness, with palpitations, and stuff like that. Let me see if you have any questions so far. You know, if you have any questions, just please leave it, say below. Let me write something, a question for y'all. Okay. All right. So just a poll question. Okay. Now let's I wanna switch gears for 1 minute. No, actually, I'm gonna stick to the herbs for now. All right. Now, the next herb that helps calm the spirit. Let me write it here. Give me a second, y'all. Next herb that calms the spirit is called. Give me a second while I write it here. Duin Long Ji. Okay. Give me a second while I write it. Okay, so this herb right here is so that She was the first herb that I showed y'all or talked about that calms the spirit. This one, Duin Long Gui, also calms the spirit. Now the names are gonna be in Chinese, and I apologize ahead of time if I mispronounce them because right. Okay, so this herb affects the heart, liver, and kidney meridian. The heart, liver, and kidney meridian. Duin Long Gui. Okay. So this taste is the taste for this is sweet. Okay, it's sweet and astringent. Sweet and astringent. Right. Temperature is neutral. So remember, the first herb Shi, the temperature was naturally cold. And I mentioned when it comes to herbs and herbal formulas, there's basically three type of temperatures. Well, main type of temperatures you could say. Cold, neutral, or warm. Of course, it's hot and cooler, but for argument's sake, so this one is just neutral. So it's a neutral flavor, neutral temperature, naturally. All right. Functions for this herb is to calm the spirit. Calm the spirit. And how does it do that? It calms the liver, subdues the yang. I mentioned earlier in the first herb, Shishi, if you see yin and yang, right? Yin is mostly associated with cold, coldness or coolness. Yang with heat. So if the yang rises, that patient is going to feel more heat. More heat. We call it excess heat, or and that can lead to disturbed shin or restless shin. That can lead to shin is spirit, SHEN, spirit. So it can lead to that. It can lead to headaches, blurry eyes. It can lead to red eyes, dizziness, because it can help. It's in dry up fluids, which can cause internal wind. Right. So this herb can subdue the yang, which is very, very, very important. Right. It contains perspiration and it secures the essence. Right. What does that mean? When we're born, we're born with a whole bunch of essence, you could say, right? But as we get older, we may lose that essence due to age or due to childbirth or stress or even or too much sex. So this herb can also, it can secure the essence. It can help you basically stay young a little bit. Also promotes healing of sores and generates flesh. So this is good herb for if you want to heal. If you have a sore on your skin, whatever, this can help heal and help the skin or help the body heal much quicker, right? So indications are emotional distress, which I'm sure a lot of us have emotional distress. Okay, so restlessness and insomnia. Remember, if the yang rises, the liver yang, rises, that can cause restlessness, palpitations, insomnia, anxiety, right? Palpitation, anxiety. I mentioned in some cases, in some extreme cases, it can cause seizures or manic or mania withdrawal, right? So again, in Chinese medicine, we call that when the yang rises. So you want to subdue that yang. This herb is very good for that, all right? Also, it's good for irritability. Okay, if you get mad easier, if you get mad too quickly, okay, this herb is good for that. I mentioned restlessness, dizziness, vertigo, blurred vision, and bad temper. So this is a good herb. If you have a bad temper, this probably can help you calm down a little bit, right? Spermatoria, basically, spermatoria stuff, pre-ejaculated sperm and stuff like that. Night sweats. It's good for night sweats, spontaneous sweating, nocturnal emissions, peeing, peeing at night when you're sleeping, vaginal discharge, and uterine bleeding. So this is a very, very powerful herb, y'all. All right. Contraindications: if a patient is diagnosed with having damp heat or external disorders, this is not a good herb for them. Okay, 15 to 30 grams is also the recommended dose. Now, this is very important. It can be used topically for ulcers and sores. Okay, use powder for chronic unhealing sores, good for calcium deficiencies. So if somebody, for instance, say diabetes, sometimes it will, say people with type 2 diabetes that's uncontrolled or advanced have issues, have trouble healing from like a little cut even. So this is can be a good herb. It placed topically to help that patient heal better and faster. Okay, so far talked about two herbs, shishi and saying d'huile and both use the calm the spirit. Shishi is naturally cold, while you say d'huile is naturally neutral when it comes to temperature. Okay, let's see if I have any questions. Also, yeah. Please y'all don't forget to subscribe and like this video because I'm teaching you about Chinese medicine and I also want your feedback also. All right. So let's switch gears a little bit and let's try to look for another category of herbs. All right. Give me 1 second. I want to talk about herbs that drain dampness because this is very important. Clears and heat, dries dampness. Let's see this one right here. Okay, so I want to I want to talk about herb that helps you, that can help you lose weight actually by actually draining dampness. Okay, so let me see, find the best one. Okay. Give me a second, y'all. So let's do this. So let's talk about another type of herb. Give me a second, y'all. Give me a second. Categories. Let's talk about herbs that's used for basically similar to like an antacid, what I'm saying, for stomach issues. All right. Let's see. Antacid. All right. Okay. Sorry, not antacid. This herbs. So the next herbs I'm going to talk about is right for you. This is good for. Let me see. Give me a second. You know what? I want to. I'm jumping all over the place. Let's just stick to herbs that calms the spirit still. How about that? All right. Let's talk about the next herb that calms the spirit. It's called Dwing Muli. No, let's talk about Zenzu. Zenzu. All right. Zenzu. Okay, boom. So the next herb you see on your screen that's calms the spirit is called Zenzu. Okay. So let's talk about Zenzu for a minute. All right. So again, main thing is to calm the spirit. Pearl. This affects the heart and liver meridian. All right. This herb directly affects the heart and liver meridian. All right. The taste is sweet and salty. So it can be sweet and salty. Temperature, this is cold. Remember, a lot of herbs that calms the spirit are going to be neutral but mostly cold because remember, we want to subdue the yang. Basically, that means that if the person that having trouble sleeping or is restlessness, insomnia, stuff like that, most likely have an internal heat pattern. So you want to prescribe them. You want to give them a cold herb, or herb that's naturally cold. You don't want to give them a herb that's hot because you're gonna escalate the problem even more. Okay, so this herb seduces the heart and settles tremors and palpitations. A diagnosis, when a person has trouble sleeping, sometimes the diagnosis could be heart fire. All right. So this herb is good. Zinzu is good to help calm the heart. Okay. Calm the heart meridian. Right. And settles tremors and palpitations. It clears the liver and eliminates superficial visual destructions. One thing you notice about these herbs that kind of spirit also helps with the eyes, because if you have a lot of heat build up into the heat, young rising, it can cause a little blurry vision. It can cause red eyes. So this herb is also good for, for the eyes also, right? Also, it promotes healing and generates flash, similar to the previous herb that we talked about. This herb is also good for generating flesh. All right. Indications: good for palpitations, childhood convulsions. Okay, this is good for childhood convulsions. What happens in childhood convulsions? Sometimes children can become too hot, and that can cause seizures. So this herb is actually good to help with that. Okay, I mentioned seizures again, blurred vision due to pythagorean or other superficial visual disorders. So this is good for the eyes in general. This herb is good for the eyes. All right. If you put it topically as a powder, it could be used for chronic non-healing ulcers and macerated areas. Right, similar to the previous herb that we talked about. Contraindications: do not use if you we would this herb we don't give to pregnant women. Right, we just don't. We don't get this herb to pregnant women. Okay, it's a indicated for that. Okay, and then there's a whole bunch of combinations you could do. The general functions are to brighten the eyes, promote healing, and generate flesh. Okay, so this is good herb to brighten the eyes, promotes healing, and generates flesh. Right, generates flesh meaning it just basically help with healing. Right, so this is good, man. We're moving along here. Moving along, the herb that calms the spirit. I'm gonna name a few more herbs that calm the spirit. Zishi Young. I'm trying to. All right, so next herb is gonna be Hupo. 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 All right. So Hupo also is an herb that calms the spirit. All right. Hupo calms the spirit. All right. English name is Amber. Now, this herb affects the heart meridian, the liver meridian, and the urinary bladder. Okay, Hupo affects that. All right. The taste is sweet. This one is sweet, y'all. Temperature is neutral. You're never gonna find a herb that calms the spirit that's gonna be hot or warm. Okay. So say temperature is neutral. This herb is pretty cool because this herb calms convulsions and calms the spirit. Surprise, surprise. All right. Invigorates the blood, dissipates stasis. Right. Sometimes if you have too much stasis, that can cause blockage of the chi. Right. So this person's stasis. Right. It promotes urination. Also reduces swelling and promotes healing. So this is a good herb that's gonna help you drain some fluids also. Right. But the main thing is it protects. It calms the spirit. So indication is good for palpitations with anxiety, excessive dreams. Right. Just like anything in life, you don't want to do anything excess or too little. It's good to find a nice medium. Okay. So for somebody that's suffering from excessive dreams, this herb can be used to actually calm that. Because remember, your mind is restless. So this herb helps calm the spirit. So therefore, reduces these excessive dreams. And if you have anxiety if you have palpitations with anxiety, this is a perfect herb for that. Okay, Hupo is very good for that. Also, it's good for insomnia, forgetfulness, anxiety, like I mentioned, seizures, childhood convulsions, and seizures. Okay, again, just like the previous herb, Zishi, this is good for childhood convulsions also. All right. Also, amenorrhea or pain from So if woman, this is good for a woman with no period, okay, or pain from palpable fixed masses due to blood stasis. All right, this is good for urinary retention if you have trouble urinating. Painful. It's good for painful urination, dribbling, or bloody urine. This herb is very good for that. If you put it topically, it's good for sores, carbuncles, skin ulcerations, swelling, and pain of the scrotum or vulvar areas. Right. So this herb also could be used topically also. Hupu. Hupu calms the spirit, but also good for more, in a lot of stuff. Contraindications, yin deficiency with heat sign. Okay, so what does yin deficiency mean? Again, when I go back to yin and yang, right? Yin. So I can explain it. So let's just say this. Let's say my left hand represents the yin, my right hand represents the yang. Okay, so in a person that's balanced, the yin and yang are going to be on the same level, right? Remember, yin is considered more cold, yang is considered hot. So yin deficiency means that the yin drops a little bit. So because the yin drops and the yang stays the same, the person is going to feel what we call empty heat. Okay, empty heat, because since the yang, or the colder part, drops a little bit, so naturally the yang patient gonna feel more hot, but it's not heat as far as being outside in the sun, right? We call this internal heat. Okay, we call this yin deficiency heat. Okay, not excess heat, right? So I hope that kind of makes sense a little bit. So this herb is very good for that. It's good for keeping us for. So sorry. I apologize. The herb is not good for that. So it's contraindicated for yin deficiency. All right. Let me see. Yes. Now contra. So notes you. So this herb combined with sanshi is actually good for coronary artery disease. Okay, which is pretty cool. Let me write that down also. Write that down also. Also good for for coronary artery disease when used with sanshi. So yeah, so when this herb is used with another herb called sanshi, this is very good for also used for coronary. Give me a second, everybody. Yes. Give me a second, everybody. Okay. So yeah, this herb is, this herb when used with sanshi is good for coronary artery disease, which is actually pretty cool, y'all. Hupo. All right. Let's see if I have any questions. All right. So this is good. This is good. Now, so I talked about 4 herbs already that's used for, saying calm the spirit. All right. Now, I want to switch gears for 1 minute, and I want to talk about diagnosis. Okay. All right. So let's switch gears for a minute, y'all. Now, I want to talk about certain diagnosis, Chinese diagnosis, okay, when it comes to Chinese medicine. All right. So I'm trying to see something here. I wonder if I should just use this live just for the herbs, and then just do another live doing diagnosis. Which I think I should do that. I think I should do that, yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead. And end this live, but I'm gonna do another one right now, and just talking about certain diagnosis. Right. So don't go anywhere. Well, I'm gonna end this live, and if those of y'all who are watching it right now, join me on the next live right now. Okay. All right.